Hey guys, it's Leanne. Welcome to my YouTube channel if you are new here. If you are not new, then welcome back. So before we start this week's Foundation Fridays, can I just ask if everyone could please subscribe and turn on the notification bell? Foundation Fridays are an upload each week on my channel where I review an old or new foundation. So at the moment I'm just working through the foundations that I have actually got at home. So for this week's Foundation Friday, I'm going to be reviewing the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix Fluid Foundation. So if you want to see what I think of this foundation and whether I would recommend this foundation, then please keep watching and enjoy. Now, the first product that I'm going to be going in with is the NYX Professional Makeup Angel Veil Primer. Now, it's always good to prime just because it leaves a barrier between the foundation and your own skin, so it can stop oils from seeping through to the foundation and just overall making foundation last a lot longer. Just FYI in case anyone didn't know, because I know when I started makeup I did not have one clue what literally any product was for. So the product that I'm going to be using for foundation is the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix Fluid, which is SPF 15, and I'm in the shade NC20. This for me is just a true to skin tone foundation, so it's not any darker than my actual skin tone. And what I like to do, so as not to waste any product, is put some product onto my little palette. I'm just going to be applying with a brush. If you put foundation onto your hands or a beauty blender, some of the product gets soaked up into like your skin or the beauty blender. So yeah, I find this way a bit more cost effective. I'm just gonna dab this over the face, and if you've watched any of my other makeup videos, you'll know that I mostly apply foundation by using this brush by Peaches and Cream that the numbers have worn off, but I will do my best to find out what number this brush is for the next video, and then I'll go over with a makeup sponge. Now, this foundation is marketed as medium to full coverage if you build it up, so I'm gonna take it to full coverage because that is just the look I prefer. Now, that first layer, I do agree that's definitely buildable. Although it does look medium coverage now, I'm still going to go back in with another layer because I can definitely see some places where the foundation looks a little bit thinner across the skin. Now, all I'm doing is just patting this brush on top of the foundation, which will help to give the foundation a more fuller coverage. Now, the smell of this foundation, I think I've mentioned this in some of my other videos, but the smell of this foundation is quite plasticky, which does put me off a little bit. I don't know if that's just me, but it's definitely got a distinct smell, and to me it just reminds me of like a plasticky, rubbery smell. It is one of, I'd say, my favourite foundations, but another negative about this product is that MAC Cosmetics do test on animals. I think because they sell in China, and I know that China's got a policy that all cosmetics brands must test on animals, so I think MAC's had to change their policy because they're not completely cruelty free anymore, which is such a shame because they did used to be. So I'm going to just take another 2 pumps, and this is just to go over any places where I still feel needs more coverage. So for me it would always be on the forehead as I get a bit of redness, around the nose and the cheek area. Now, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I actually don't take my foundation right up to the under eye, and that is just because I feel that the more products you put underneath the under eye, then the more chance you're giving the under eye to crease, because we're already going to be putting concealer there, maybe even colour correcting concealer, then a normal concealer, and then powder on top. So that's actually quite a lot for the sensitive skin under the eye to deal with. So I just don't like to put any foundation under there. Now, what I'm going to be doing is just taking my Morphe sponge, just simply bouncing the product into the skin, and this is just to give a more airbrushed finish. So the next product I'm going to be going in with is the Revolution Conceal and Define Infinite Concealer, and this is in the shade C5. little bit down the bridge of the nose, a little bit in the centre of the forehead as well. So what I'm going to do now is just let this sit on the face for a little bit, because that will give a more full coverage than just going in now with a beauty blender or a brush and just blending away. So now that this has been on the face for about 1 to 2 minutes, I'm just going to be taking a Real Techniques buffing brush, and I'm just going to be buffing this concealer. Now very gently, because we don't want to completely move the product all over the face. We just want to keep it concentrated in the areas where we've put it. So I'm not like swirling it around, I'm just simply patting on top. So I'm just going to squeeze the bristle hairs together so they go a little bit thinner, because we just want this down the bridge of the nose, because the thinner the line of cream highlight you put on the bridge of the nose, the thinner your nose will appear. So the last place I'm going to be blending is the under eyes, and that's because I like the most coverage there. Well, I like it, but I also need it because of bags. So I'm just going to be buffing away the edges So I'm just going to be buffing away the edges of the under eye concealer, and then I'm just going to be taking a little Eco Tools brush, and this is the Defined Crease brush, rubbing that very, very gently and pressing over top of that to give the most coverage if you pat down on top of this concealer. I'm just going to go back into the Real Techniques buffing brush just to buff out the larger areas. So because for today's Foundation Friday we have used the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix foundation, I've decided that I'm going to try and keep the rest of the base as MAC Cosmetics as possible. So to set the under eye and to just use as an all over setting powder, I'm going to be taking the MAC Cosmetics Mineralised Skin Finish, and this is in the shade Medium Plus. This is just going to be to set under the eye and all over the skin, because I've just had a good little look in the mirror and some of the foundation is actually sitting in like some type of like lines in the forehead. So yeah, this is one thing I can't remember about this foundation. I can't remember that it ever did this, but it's definitely sitting in lines, very fine lines on the forehead. However, it is making pores look quite good. It's not really, it doesn't seem to be making my pores seem more enlarged than they are or anything, but on the forehead and here it's definitely caking and creasing a little bit. So I'm going to be taking the Peaches and Creams PCO4 brush, and I'm just going to be dipping into the MAC Cosmetics powder. But before I do that, because as I've mentioned there are little tiny lines, I'm just going to be going over once more with my beauty blender just all over the skin, and that will just simply be to make sure that the foundation is not setting in any lines, because if we went over now while I'm aware that there's creasing, then we are effectively just setting the foundation in the creasing, which is the polar opposite of what I actually want. Set everywhere just with a light dusting. Now for me to be going over and setting all over the skin, this is not something that I normally do in my makeup routine. This is an extra step, but that is because of the creasing around the forehead and frown lines like I mentioned. So yes, we've taken a little bit of a different route, but needs must, because that is like a pet hate when foundation creases. So I'm just going to go back in to the under eyes now, because this has definitely creased a little bit, and that was using the Revolution. Yeah, that's right. That was using the Revolution concealer. Just buffing away any fine lines under the eye, and being very light with this helps. And I'm going to be using a smaller brush, which is the Real Techniques setting brush. So I'm going in with that powder, just making sure that there's no under eye creasing. I'm gently going to pat this powder just underneath the eye. I'm going to be starting on contour products now. So I'm going to be taking the MAC Cosmetics Mineralised Skin Finish in the shade Give Me Sun. And I'm going to be taking a Real Techniques powder brush, and I'm just going to be dusting this firstly just over the areas where I would normally contour. So just to get a little bit of colour into the skin. I'm going to be taking it up onto the forehead, just underneath the cheekbones, a little bit down the back of the jawline, and just underneath. So as you've seen, I've done that with a big fluffy brush. So that was just bronzer basically. Now I'm going to be going in with another bronzing product from MAC Cosmetics, but this is darker. This time it's the MAC Cosmetics Dark Deepest Mineralised Skin Finish Natural. So this is just a little bit darker like I said, but now I'm going to be using an angled brush to apply this. So I will actually use the MAC Cosmetics 168 brush. I'm going to be placing this focused more towards the back, towards the hairline. And can we see what that did? In comparison to that side, which is just a light wash of colour, I used a bigger brush to achieve that effect. This brush is definitely looking, it's giving me some serious cheekbones. When you place contour at the back, you really focus the contour towards the back of the cheekbone going into the hairline / like by the ear, then that will definitely look the most natural and effective, I'd say. And I'm not going in with any more product, I'm just putting the remainder on these places. For blush, I'm going to be using the MAC Cosmetics Tell and Glow Extra Dimension Blush. Now this has got its own little shimmer in it. I'm actually going to be using the Real Techniques blush brush. This is just a big fluffy brush which will give a softer effect. The larger and fluffier the brush, even though the product will go further, like it will cover a larger area, it will actually give a softer result. I'm going to be smiling to get the apples of the cheeks, but I'm also taking this blush back to where I blended the contour. Also as well, if you hold your brush towards the end rather than hold the brush here, it will be easier to get a lighter dusting, because this way your hand's a bit more loose, it can move around a bit more, whereas here you're more likely to press the brush a lot harder. So yeah, I'd recommend holding the brush from the bottom of the handle. Can anyone see that little glow? Like, I probably wouldn't need highlighter because it's actually got its own little bit of shimmer, but I am definitely going to do highlighter. But yeah, like, it's got its own little radiant glow, well, telling glow. For highlight, I'm going to be using the MAC Cosmetics Mineralized Skin Finish in Soft and Gentle and Global Glow. So a while back, I depotted all my MAC Cosmetics products. So these are the blushes, eyeshadow, highlighters, and I don't really know why I've done it, because I just keep forgetting that I actually have these products. I keep forgetting. But yeah, this is the Soft and Gentle, so it really is just a very champagne-y colour, and this is Global Glow, which is a more bronzy colour. But I'm just going to be taking a mixture of both because that is just a technique that I prefer over using one highlighter. So to do this, I'm going to be taking my favourite Spectrum brush, and I think this is definitely more of an eyeshadow brush, but I just use a highlight. Unfortunately, I don't know what the number of the brush is, but it's just a small, dense brush. And then I'm just going to be going over the places where I placed cream highlight. And now I'm curling this product up into that brow bone, because that is definitely a more natural effect than taking it right back to the hairline. As much as I did say before about bronzer and blusher going back to the hairline, I feel like highlight should definitely just be tucked up into the brow. I'm just going to take a finger now. Also going to do a little bit just above the very front of the brow. That always looks good in pictures, always. It gives a very dewy effect when you put a little bit just above the front of the brow. I normally use a loose powder, but I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm going to be sticking with the Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Medium Plus. So I'm going to be taking my Fenty Beauty sponge, and I'm just pressing this sponge into the compact. I'm just going to be carving out underneath the contour, which I don't think this will be as effective as if I used setting powder, but I'm still going to try it anyway. For lips, I'm going to be taking the MAC Cosmetics Stripped Down Lip Pencil. It's just a perfect nude brown. However, NYX Cosmetics and Morphe definitely do similar dupes. So if I ever want to go for this type of colour, I'll always use the NYX Cosmetics Cocoa or Morphe Sweet Tea lip liner. And they are literally so much cheaper. I'm just going to be applying a little bit of the Fenty Beauty Mademoiselle Plush Lipstick in the shade Single. Which is just such a creamy consistency. Now, I don't actually know if I really love this look together, I'm not sure. So I might just go over with my Laura Geller lipstick, and this is in the shade Riviera. Yeah, I think a little bit more of a brown would go nicer. Okay, so that didn't really make it brown. because maybe the Fenty lipstick is a bit more pigmented than this one. But normally if I use this lipstick on its own, it definitely goes a more browny colour. However, it's definitely just giving it a shine to this lip look, but hey ho. So now I'm just going to be taking my Spectrum A01 brush just to dust off some of this powder. That I put on before. So this, guys, is the finished and completed look. So I'm just going to do a little quick talk through on the claims that the foundation made and whether I felt that it actually lived up to its claims. I feel like this foundation, years ago, it definitely was a holy grail for me and probably a lot of other makeup artists and a lot of other people in general. However, now that like the drugstore is like being revolutionised by products like Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation, the e.l.f. foundation is really good, the e.l.f. concealer, e.l.f. Camo concealer is brilliant. I feel like this price point, I think it was £26, I think it's just kind of not living up anymore because we've got so much other choices now and for so much cheaper. So while I do think that the foundation, it is a nice foundation if you can afford it, and it does photograph really, really well, I feel like I probably might only buy this foundation again as a treat. I wouldn't keep buying it the way I have in the past because there's so many other options now. In a nutshell, I would recommend it. So in one sense, I would recommend it if you can afford it, but I do feel like on the other hand, there's definitely products for cheaper that don't test on animals and that outperform this foundation, not even just do as good of a job, they definitely outperform this foundation. So I'm just going to read out what MAC Cosmetics says this foundation does. So on MAC Cosmetics website, it says that the formula lasts for a full 24 hours. It combines a matte finish and medium to full buildable coverage. It helps minimise the appearance of pores and imperfections, giving skin a smoother and more even look and finish. So I did comment before on the pores. I feel like it's definitely done a brilliant job of keeping my pores in check, bearing in mind that I haven't actually used any pore filling primer like I maybe normally would. So it definitely lives up to that claim. It does have SPF 15, which sometimes having SPF in a foundation can actually give flashback in photos, but with this foundation I've actually found that there's no flashback, which is good. So it definitely lives up to the matte finish and medium to buildable full coverage. I'll definitely give it that. So 24-hour wear, non-poring and refined skin, definitely agree with that. I'm not sure about 24-hour wear because ideally no one would be wearing makeup for 24 hours. But actually I have slept in this foundation before, which I'm not recommending anyone to do. But I have done that before and yet, to be fair, it did actually still look quite good. Controls oil and shine for 6 hours. So I'm not very oily at all. I'm not very like shiny because I don't have much oil. So I'm not sure about that one. Non-acnegenic, which is always a bonus, won't cause acne. It stays true colour for 24 hours. I definitely agree with that 100%. Non-fading, streaking, caking, settling for 24 hours. So I don't agree with that. It definitely settled into fine lines on the forehead and in between the eyebrows. So I definitely don't agree with that claim. It definitely does crease and cake a little bit. Provides immediate and long-term moisture for 8 hours. Yes, agreed. Sweat and humidity resistant. I would actually agree with that because I took this foundation on holiday with me last year to LA. Me and my friend went around July and the temperature was absolutely scorching hot. So I remember wearing this from morning till night. Like it's long days out there. Like we were going out, you know, sightseeing, doing everything. So yeah, I would actually agree. It definitely is sweat and humidity resistant. It's non-comedogenic, which means it won't actually clog pores, which is always a bonus. Overall, I feel like it does live up to the claims. I probably wouldn't recommend it to clients. I've got this primarily because I'm a makeup artist, so it's always good to have in your kit because sometimes you get those fussy clients who only want like a more expensive brand, and that's fine. I don't know if I'd actually recommend it, I'm not sure. Like I would in one sense if you can afford it and it's your money, you know, if you want to buy it, by all means do. But I do feel like there are better foundations at the drugstore at the moment. So yeah, let me know what you think. Any product recommendations that you would actually like me to try for next week's Foundation Friday, then please let me know. That'd be much appreciated. And let me know your thoughts on the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix Fluid Foundation. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that everybody learned something new. I hope that you can all make an informed choice now. And any comments or questions, let me know down below in the comments section. I will also leave my Instagram, so give me a follow over there because I have a massive competition going on at the moment, a massive makeup giveaway. I'll see you in the next tutorial.